Okay, so day 3 has hit, and it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong already. You'll notice that my sidekick, my partner in crime on this journey, is not with us. He has hit a snag. On day 1, he suffers with styes, usually brought on by stress and anxiety. And obviously there's probably no more stressful situation than starting secondary school for an autistic child. And today, even though last night we got him some stuff from the chemist for it to try and help it, today he's woken up with what looks like a balloon growing out of his eye. Probably not ideal for school. And although I think he's in two minds about what he should do, because he gets anxious about taking time off, I think my wife and I made the call that he was going to stay off today, and we'll dose him up with this stuff, and hopefully tomorrow he can resume, because he doesn't want to take the day off. But it kind of leads me to a point about how very often people on the ASD spectrum become so consumed with sometimes trivial things. I'm not saying this is a trivial thing, but it's something that a lot of children or even a lot of adults would potentially just think, do you know what, I'll get on, because it's not life-threatening. It's not something that's really going to affect what I'm doing. It's just, kind of a little bit irritating. But for Jake, and I'm very much the same, when we have something that we can't make sense of in going on in our lives, we can't compartmentalize it. It consumes us completely, to the point where we're almost rendered useless to do anything else, which does pose a problem at times, because where some people, most of the people I've worked with over the years have been able to, it's like the whole leave your problems at the door mindset that so many old school sort of managers and people empowering businesses deploy, which is the most ridiculous sentence ever to be uttered. It's that same deal with this, but just heightened by 100, because he can't make sense of the sty. He's worried that it's gonna get worse. He's worried that it's going to affect his sight and everything else, and it just consumes him. And I completely get it. And I'm very similar in the sense that, and not that I suffer with styes, but in other things, there'll be things that happen in my life where my wife will say to me, it's so trivial, like, can you not just, let's think about that tomorrow when we can actually do something about it. And I'll say, but I can't compartmentalize it. I can't get it out of my brain. It's just swimming around in there, affecting everything I do. And it's only at the point where your brain allows you to make sense of it that you can move on. So it might be, for instance, with the sty with Jake, that he can't make sense of it at the moment because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand it because it's seemingly at the moment getting worse, and at the moment that's panicking him. That's causing panic. He's worried about what the potential after effects could be of a sty, even though he's had them before. He's worried that if he goes to school, all he's going to be doing all day is rubbing his eye, and that people will watch and wonder why he's doing that, and then that will disrupt the class, and that will make him anxious. So until the point comes where he feels that he can make sense of that and level out on that thought, and that will probably come at the point where he feels the sty is on the mend, he can't focus, can't switch on to anything. I think he would have gone to school today, and then he started thinking about the video, going, oh no, I need to go to school because we've got to record day 3, Dad. And I'm like, mate, I'm sure I can manage for one day on my own. So we've kept him off, but it is an interesting topic, because, and if you are watching, if you are an autistic, if you are a parent of an autistic child, or you're questioning your own mindset and your own thought process around things, if you are someone that it becomes completely obsessed and consumed with very often quite small things that perhaps the people around you don't understand, and it almost writes you off. It almost writes you off doing anything else until you can make sense of it in your mind, until you can just tick the box of, okay, I can move on from that now. Then, you know, that's something that could potentially mean that you are possibly, you know, there's so much more to it, but I'm not going to say all of a sudden everyone that does that is neurodiverse. But for me, that's been a major factor of my life, even long before I found out. And it's certainly a big factor of Jake's. When he becomes consumed with something, no matter how small, until he can make sense of it, it's game over. Literally game over for anything else. And that's why we knew that he couldn't go to school today. He would have been useless, and it could have potentially done more harm than good. Will the teachers understand? Don't know. They sent an email round prior to the school starting, and it was an email about attendance, and it said we do really try and encourage 100% attendance in all children. And while that's fine, some would argue that kind of encourages people to go in regardless, even if they're really poorly. And that, again, that feels quite old school to me. It feels like quite an old school mindset. Don't know. So tell me what you think. If you're watching and you feel like that's a mindset that's outdated, or you feel like we should be still encouraging that, otherwise people will take advantage if we're too soft. It's a tough one. I don't know. Throughout my management career in retail especially, I was very hard on people calling in sick because I never did it. I'd go in no matter what. And again, I think that was that thing in me that I knew that if I called in sick, I would be a wreck all day. I wouldn't be able to make peace with that. I wouldn't be able to relax with that in my mind. So I'd go in no matter what. So maybe that's just me. And maybe wrongly, I expected the same standards of everyone within my team. But yeah, tell me, what do you think? What do you think about that? Should schools be forcing that on the parents and the children, or should they be a bit more open? Don't know. So yeah, no sidekick today. Number 2 son, who I've just taken to school because I gave my wife a break from coming on this school run, which, to be honest, is horrendous. It's probably a half an hour walk, to be fair, but all the time there's roadworks on the main road, I'm probably going to encourage that she walks it, because this is a joke. But I've given, he wants to do video, so we did a video, but that won't be coming on to the channel. He's too young. As I said in the first video, I've had enough hassle trying to convince my wife to let Jake come on, despite us both, really wanting to do it and wanting to share our story, and she's just about got her head around that. Josh has got no chance, not for a couple of years at least. So yeah, we will see how this transpires the rest of this day. This will be the end of this video for day 3. So sadly, sorry again, you've just got me. But I thought that was an interesting topic to discuss and just share, in case anyone watching is in that same boat and suffers with that same struggle of not being able to compartmentalize even small things that perhaps other people would, and struggling to make sense of them in your own mind. And because it does affect everything. It affects work, it affects life, it affects you just going out and doing basic human tasks. And because everything in life involves a little bit of focus and a little bit of concentration, shall we say. And when that ability to just focus and concentrate on even small things leaves you because your whole brain is consumed with, in Jake's case, a sty, it does make life challenging at times. And at my age, I've found a hell of a lot of ways of combating that. But for Jake and for other younger neurodiverse children, it's really difficult. Really, really difficult. And you just have to try and be as understanding as you can as parents. But remember, you're not always going to get that same understanding from everyone else. And that's something that you will live with forever. Until people live with it and they understand it, they're just not going to get it no matter what they say. So, yeah, you need to be understanding as the parent, but also accept that you might be forever fighting against a system that probably thinks you're taking the mick a little bit with certain things. See you on day 4, maybe with a sidekick.